In the peaceful, lush valleys of Bhutan, nestled between the towering mountains, there was a village named Drukling. This village was known for its kindness, where people looked out for one another and lived simple but happy lives. The villagers relied on their herds of yaks and the fertile land to sustain them. But one winter, things started to go wrong. Crops began to fail, and the yaks that were the lifeblood of the village became sickly. Food became scarce, and the villagers grew anxious as the bitter winds of winter swept through the valley. In the evenings, they gathered around the communal fire, where the elders would tell old folk tales to keep their spirits up. One story, in particular, sparked hope in their hearts: the story of the Golden Yak. According to legend, a magical yak roamed the farthest, most secretive valley of Bhutan. This yak, with fur as bright as gold, was said to possess incredible powers. Whoever treated it with kindness and a pure heart would be rewarded with endless prosperity. But if someone approached it with selfishness or greed, they would face consequences far worse than misfortune. In this village lived a young boy named Tashi, who loved listening to the stories of the Golden Yak. He was a kind-hearted, thoughtful boy, always helping his parents and the elderly in the village. Tashi's family, like many others, was struggling. Their farm hadn't yielded much that year, and they worried about surviving the harsh winter ahead. That evening, as his family sat by their small hearth, Tashi saw the sadness in his mother's eyes as she tried to stretch the last bit of food they had. That night, while lying in bed, Tashi made a decision. He would find the Golden Yak and ask for its help. Not just for his family, but for the entire village. He wasn't interested in riches, he just wanted everyone to have enough to eat and survive the winter. At the crack of dawn, Tashi set out on his journey. His parents didn't know of his plan, but he left a note saying he'd be back soon. The snow-covered mountains loomed ahead of him, but he wasn't afraid. He was determined. For days, Tashi trekked through the snowy wilderness. The wind howled and the cold bit at his skin, but he pressed on. He followed the directions from the old stories, climbing higher and deeper into the unknown. His food supply dwindled and exhaustion began to set in, but Tashi's heart remained strong. On the 7th day, as the sun broke through the heavy clouds, Tashi stumbled upon a hidden valley. The snow seemed to glow with a warm golden light. There, standing majestically on a ridge, was the Golden Yak. It was even more magnificent than the stories described. Its fur shimmered like the sun, and its eyes sparkled with wisdom. Tashi felt his heart race, but he knew what he had come for. Slowly, he approached the yak, bowing respectfully as he had been taught to show kindness to all living beings. "Great yak," he said softly, "I have not come for riches or gold. My family and my village are suffering from hunger this winter. I only ask for your blessing so we can all survive." The Golden Yak gazed at Tashi for a long moment before speaking in a deep, gentle voice. "You have a kind and selfless heart, young one. Many have sought me, but few with such pure intentions. Because of your goodness, I will grant your wish. But remember, what I give must be shared freely with others." The yak then lowered its head, and a single shimmering golden hair fell into Tashi's hands. "Return to your village," the yak instructed. "Place this hair in your hearth, and you will see the blessings unfold." Tashi thanked the Golden Yak with all his heart and hurried back to Drukling. His journey home was filled with a newfound energy, and though the path was long, he felt the yak's warmth guiding him. When Tashi arrived back in his village, his parents were overjoyed to see him. He gathered the villagers together and explained his incredible journey. Some were skeptical, but they trusted Tashi's kind nature. His family placed the golden hair in their hearth, and immediately the fire glowed with an intense warmth and brightness that filled the entire home. That night, the cold seemed to vanish, and the next morning, something miraculous had happened. The crops that had been buried under the snow were fresh and bountiful, as if the winter had never touched them. The yaks, once sick and weak, were now healthy and strong. Word spread quickly through the village, and soon everyone was benefiting from the mysterious blessing. Tashi's small act of kindness had saved them all. But Tashi remembered the yak's words. These blessings were meant to be shared. The villagers, grateful for the miraculous change, came together to distribute food, care for each other's yaks, and ensure that no one went hungry. They didn't take more than they needed, and they were careful to never let greed take root in their hearts. However, not everyone in Drukling was content. There was a man named Pema, known for his greed and jealousy. He had heard of Tashi's journey and the village's sudden prosperity, and thought, why should Tashi have all the glory? If I find the Golden Yak, I can have more wealth than anyone. Without telling anyone, Pema set out to find the yak, determined to claim its riches for himself. After many difficult days of searching, he finally found the hidden valley and the yak. But unlike Tashi, Pema did not approach with respect or humility. I demand your golden hair, he said arrogantly. Give it to me so that I can be the richest man in all the land. The Golden Yak looked at Pema with sorrow in its eyes. I grant no blessings to those with selfish hearts, it said, before disappearing into the mist. Pema, lost and ashamed, wandered the mountains alone, never to find his way back to the village. Meanwhile, Tashi and the rest of Drukling lived in peace and happiness. The village thrived, not because of wealth or gold, but because the people remembered the lesson of the Golden Yak. Kindness and generosity are the true sources of prosperity. And so Tashi's story was passed down through the generations, teaching that when we act with kindness and share what we have, we can create a world where everyone thrives.